A friend of mine who does contribute to this channel, he said to me, you know what? The biggest problem in the Western world is this. And he keeps on saying it over and over and over. He says no one's listening. They should be. Italy's economy is obviously struggling. The Prime Minister of Italy has forecast growth at half of what it was meant to be. In other words, things just aren't growing. Now, part of this problem could be the fact that Stellantis, well, their production of cars in Italy fell by nearly 40% last year. This was the result of, well, cost to do business in Italy is expensive. A steep plunge in car manufacturing from Stellantis means that Italy's manufacturing sector is obviously in crisis. To address overcapacity in Italy, Stellantis has relied heavily on state-funded temporary layoff schemes. Stellantis in December presented a plan to boost production, but an increase is only expected from 2026 thanks to the launch of new models. By 2026, Stellantis, they are going to be under enormous pressure. The company is already struggling. It's already having its own crisis. The FIM CISL union said Stellantis, which was created in 2021 from the merger of Fiat Chrysler and France's PSA Peugeot, last year manufactured 475,000 vehicles in Italy, down from 751,000 in 2023. Production of cars, though, shrank by 46% to the lowest ever, or the lowest since 1956. I mean, really, the population of the world has, doubled or tripled since then? And production of vehicles has shrunk by 46%. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more going on, and Italy's economy is going to be in big trouble for one very big reason. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to have you with us. Italy faces the most severe demographic decline in Europe, with Scope ratings projecting around a 20% reduction in its working age population by 2040. 15 years from now, Italy's working age population will have shrunk by 20%. This far surpasses the expected drops in countries like Germany, 14%, and France, only 2%. The alarming statistic is compounded by Italy's birth rate, which fell to a historic low of 379,000 in 2022, marking the 15th consecutive year of decline. 15 years in a row, Italy's birth rate has gone down every single year. That's the lowest since the country's unification in 1861, more than 150 years ago. Italy's sluggish economy, one of the slowest growing in the Eurozone, is poised to face many challenges due to its shrinking workforce. The country's 2023 growth forecast was recently revised down to 0.5%, and the employment rate remains the lowest in the European Union. Only 66% of Italians aged 20 to 64 are employed. I mean, basically what that means is 1 out of every 3 Italians who is working age doesn't have a job. This compares to the EU average of 75.3%. As Italy's labour force shrinks, particularly for women struggling to balance motherhood and work, the Bank of Italy warns that boosting female labour participation is imperative for long-term economic growth and public debt sustainability. And that's a big problem here. Public debt sustainability. Italy has a lot of public debt. And if its workforce is shrinking every single year, it can't pay that debt. Italy's demographic crisis is part of a larger European trend. The 2024 Aging Report predicted that while the EU population will slightly increase to 453 million by 2026, it will decline to 432 million by 2070. More troubling is the projected rise in the old age dependency ratio, the number of people over 65 relative to those of working age. In 2022, the ratio was 36%. By 2070, it will soar to a staggering 59%. In other words, 60% of the population in only 35 years from now, in other words, 60% of the population in only 45 years from now won't work at all. This is going to put immense strain on Italy's economy, as fewer working age individuals are supporting a growing number of retirees. As Italy's manufacturing base continues to decline thanks to the decimation of the European automotive industry, which is inevitable, immense pressure is coming from two directions. Manufacturing is being destroyed, and Italy's aging population means far less fewer workers to actually pay the taxes the government needs in order to support its huge public debts. Although labour force participation is expected to increase among older workers and women across Europe, the rise will not be anywhere near enough to offset the shrinking working age population. The EU's workforce is projected to decline by 12% between 2022 and 2070, a drop of 25 million people. In some member states, the labour force may shrink by over a quarter. For Italy, this means reforms are critical, especially as the old age dependency ratio rises sharply. So what's Italy's long-term outlook? Well, we already know what's going to happen to their automotive industry. It's shrinking every year. It's going to eventually disappear. I would say within 10 years, it will no longer exist. Now, Stellantis actually got a loan of around 400 million US dollars, or about 400 million euros, I should say, from the Italian government to build a battery gigafactory in Italy. And they got that loan 3 years ago, and they have refused to commit to actually building that factory, simply because the cost of doing business is already too high. McKinsey Global Institute's report, The Graying of Europe, shows how demographic aging will reshape the continent and really amplify Italy's current challenges. By 2025, 1 in 5 Europeans will be over 65, with the median age in Italy reaching 51. As retirees surge and the working age population declines, countries like Italy will face severe economic challenges, risking stagnation and lower living standards. And really, there is not much they can actually do about this. With Italy's economic future in jeopardy, upcoming reviews by ratings agencies such as S&P Global, DBRS, Fitch, Moody's, and Scope will scrutinize Rome's medium-term fiscal plans, potentially putting immense pressure on Italy's budget. Labour market reforms that focus on boosting female workforce participation and addressing the demographic imbalance will be crucial to securing Italy's long-term growth and managing its almost €3 trillion debt. That's a lot of debt for a workforce that is declining every single year. Without such reforms, Italy risks deepening its economic stagnation and becoming a stark example of Europe's demographic crisis, said Reuters. Realistically, I don't see any pathway for Italy being able to handle this level of debt. Having more than €3 trillion of debt, a shrinking workforce that is declining in size every single year, a shrinking manufacturing base, which is about to be decimated by the loss of its automotive industry. In my opinion, Italy is going to face a severe economic crisis over the next decade. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know down below.